The Warriors dynasty has danced on the edge of reinvention before, but today, that razor's edge feels sharper than ever because the pulse of Dub Nation is caught in a dizzying swirl of trade rumors, cap calculations, and the impossible weight of expectation resting on Jonathan Kuminga's broad shoulders. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Now, let's dive headfirst into the storm breaking wide open. Two Western Conference teams, our fierce NorCal rivals, the Sacramento Kings and the sun-blazed Phoenix Suns down south, have not just whispered, but laid concrete trade offers. For Kuminga on the table, offers that the Warriors, at least for now, have turned down flat, per Shams Charania's late-night ESPN bombshell. But this isn't just about players and dollars. It's a chess match played in shadows, with salary cap intricacies strangling each maneuver and the ghosts of our dynasty's past echoing through every decision. Shams was on the ground in Miami, caught the workout with Kuminga at a local gym, and reported the young star looked sharp, his spirit high, not in a rush of man exploring the possibilities of a sign-and-trade option that could change everything. Yet the Warriors, tied tight to a cap that is nearly strangling with Curry, Draymond, and Clay soaking up 80% of the payroll, are cornered into offering nothing more than a modest taxpayer mid-level exception and veteran minimum contracts. Isn't a free-flowing market. It's a gauntlet where every dollar and contract year must be meticulously calibrated, where the equation of matching salaries feels less like business, more like a Rubik's Cube designed by a cruel mastermind. The Suns and Kings have stepped up with offers that supposedly promise Kuminga a starting role and hefty minutes, a siren call for a young star eager to prove himself. But here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. The Warriors' hands are tied in why no deal has crossed the finish line. Cap rules, trade value math, and roster constraints make these offers less liquid than hoped. For example, trading Kuminga before December caps return only half his value, turning a potential $20 million per year contract into a $10 million trade value limit, making simple player-for-player swaps nearly impossible. Take Dillon Brooks. With the Suns, his 2-year, $21 million deal is just out of reach, and he's currently stuck in a trade freeze until September 6th because he was part of a larger deal, which blocks any immediate deal with the Warriors. Then there's Grayson Allen, a solid 3-and-D wing shooter with a decent contract and some flashes of brilliance. But any package the Suns offer would hinge on a late 2029 second-rounder to balance the ledger, a pick that won't tip the scales. Enough to satisfy Dub Nation's hopes for a franchise-changing haul. Over with the Kings, the luxury tax and apron limits slam harder. Levine, Sabonis, or even the promising Keegan Murray are all financially unfeasible given where the Warriors' cap ceiling looms. A package centering on a guy like Kevin Huerter or Malik Monk might sound sexy for bench scoring, but again, the Warriors' strict financial constraints make these deals unworkable without absorbing massive salary or parting with precious draft capital. All this paints a picture of a front office caught in unforgiving bind, knowing Kuminga has to earn his minutes, leave his mark, and potentially elevate to the franchise cornerstone they all envisioned when he first burst onto the scene. And the emotional weight of this moment cannot be overstated because Kuminga is more than a player. He's a bridge between splash-era glory and a hopeful next chapter. The Warriors extended a qualifying offer of $7.9 million, a gamble to keep. Kuminga in the fold on a 1-year deal, betting he'll blossom fully as a restricted free agent next summer. If Kuminga says yes, the Warriors suddenly open flexibility to chase free agents like Anthony Melton, Seth Curry, or Al Horford on vet minimums or the taxpayer mid-level exception, bringing back a blend of experience and youth that could feed the hunger of a thirsting fan base. Picture Jalen Green or Grayson Allen stepping into a starting wings role beside Curry and Green. The potential synergy sparks miles of speculation, but that's pure theory to date. And here's a pulse-racing question. Is the front office actively juggling scenarios behind closed doors, seeing if a longer-term deal in the $15 million per year ballpark could unlock stronger trade leverage and more roster options? Or are they locked into a status quo fight with too much salary stifling their playbook? Baking in the Warriors' landmark salary commitments to maximum contracts for Curry, Draymond, and Klay, the trio that rebuilt the franchise's identity and captured 3 titles, this puzzle has no easy fix. But how could it? The Warriors' identity has always been about calculated risk, unshakable belief, and seizing windows of opportunity with the precision and poise that became their signature. Now Kuminga's career hangs in this balance, a cast of patience and potential that reminds us all of the perils and promises of managing a dynasty laden with stars, cap penalties, and championship dreams. Could this be the watershed moment that turns everything on its head? The undercurrents speak to a potential sign and trade that brings vet bench depth like Horford or Melton, alongside fresh draft assets. But does the roster have room? Can Jonathan hold out for bigger minutes elsewhere, or does loyalty to the splash-born identity tip the scales? And even if a deal happens, can the Warriors find a way to maintain the culture of toughness and unselfishness that brought them glory and bound us as a family through every season's heartbreak and triumph? As Dub Nation's heartbeat races forward, wrestling with trade machines, salary cap charts, and the whispered promises of front office reputation, remember this: every center-chasing move echoes back to those unforgettable Splash Brothers. Bombs that rewrote the NBA script, and now Jonathan. Kuminga could be the torchbearer or the trade chip that shifts this saga in a way we haven't yet dared to imagine. The Warriors are the only team standing still right now in free agency, an island amidst storms, waiting to see if this gamble pays off or unravels the fragile tapestry woven by 3 decades of hope and sweat on the hardwood. And that agonizing tension sets the stage for what we all know is coming: a decision, a deal, a dynasty-defining moment that will either signal new life or fracture what we know as Golden State's relentless quest for greatness. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, the weight of history and hope bearing down with every passing hour. But is this the ignition point for our next title run, or the crack that splits our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If you're sitting there with that pit in your stomach, wondering where this all goes next, whether Kuminga is the missing piece or the opening wedge for a seismic shift, buckle up and sound off. Because we're not just talking basketball anymore. We're talking about the very soul of this Warriors roster, the core spirit that pumped life into a dynasty and now faces its most brutal test yet. It's hard not to catch your breath imagining what bubbles beneath the surface of that chase. Center locker room right now with the seasoned Warriors Steph, Draymond, and Klay still battling. The physical toll and the mental grind of carrying a franchise that's simultaneously their home and their cross to bear. Steph's legacy, already immortalized in splash and sweat, now hangs like a sword, cutting into every management decision, every rookie's minutes, every drip of cap space. How does Kerr balance the urgency of maintaining championship caliber grit with the undeniable fact that the future's heartbeat pulses strongest through Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, even the untouchable or untapped young blood sniffing their chance to break through? Players don't just shuffle charts or balance contracts. They live and breathe the emotional weight of these choices, the fleeting camaraderie of late-game huddles, the electric silence before tip-off, the whisper of questions on who might start alongside Curry, the chilly uncertainty if Kuminga bolts. For a greener state, a hotter spotlight, a fresh start more ideal than a one-year tender ever could be. This isn't just a saga about dollars or draft picks. It's the raw crumbling of old guard ideals, crashing against hard-nosed realities. The trade talks with the Suns and Kings, more than just rumor mills, their pressure valves opening wider, threatening to blow the lid off the grasp Golden State thought it had on this roster. What if Kuminga, a talent as electrifying and deeply flawed as any young star has been in Warriors history, is quietly reaching a moment where loyalty fractures under ambition? We've seen this story before in the Splash era, haven't we? The path from rising star to franchise cornerstone is littered with the remains of misplaced timing or misunderstood potential. Remember the painful fade-outs of Bogut and Iguodala's transitional years, the blurred twilight when Draymond almost felt like too much for the new Warriors machine? That same tension simmers now with Kuminga, his explosiveness intoxicating, his consistency maddening, and his ceiling still a fogged window wide open to interpretation. Curry's peak years might still outshine any narrative, but the clock's relentless ticking asks, who takes up this torch when the Finals MVP banners are retired? The trade freeze around Dillon Brooks, the luxury tax wall smushing any shiny deal with the Kings, the nuanced dance of sign-and-trade options lurking like quiet storms behind the scenes. It all reads like a blockbuster script unfolding in real time, with the front office cast as strategists, captives, and gamblers rolled into one. We've always cherished the Warriors for their courage to bet on genius, for their devotion to a style that reshaped the league. But now courage demands patience mingled with brutal honesty. If Kuminga says no to the qualifying offer, the whole delicate ecosystem could unravel, leaving behind a roster of legends and hopefuls staring down a chasm where a new blueprint might be the only salvation. Enter the whispers about targeting veterans like Horford or Melt Not Glamorous. Maybe not headline-making, but the steely glue that could stitch together this fragile, fractured armor. Imagine that gritty patchwork in sync with relentless hustle guys like Moody, rebounding and swarming on defense. The ball finding Steph's hands in crunch time like a heartbeat everyone knows by memory. But the question burns hotter than any arena spotlight. Does this patchwork hold? Can a once fearsome dynasty ride that uncertain wave and rise again? Or is this the slow fade, an agonizing sunset where a few last fireworks hide the gradual dimming? Draymond's fiery leadership, once the soul of Golden State's defense, now faces a new test molding young cores while grappling with diminishing returns of his own minutes and body. Is there room in the heart, the system, the locker room, for a rising Kuminga who craves not just playtime, but a legacy stamped in Warrior Blue Gold? Now, spin that forward into next summer. That 2025 restricted free agency horizon looms like a cliffhanger, with Kuminga's next move possibly defining the franchise's trajectory for years to come. Will the Warriors gamble on another 1 year? Dance banking on the explosive upside to justify giving him a max deal when cap hell finally relents? Or will they fold early, cash out draft picks, and reload differently faster, younger, or maybe, dare we say, older? This isn't midseason drama. It's epic defining crossroads. And there's no sugarcoating the cultural seismic shift because Golden State's identity has always been drenched in splash artistry, relentless work ethic, and unspoken bonds from the locker room roar to the last shot buzzer. Each passing day without clarity fuels paranoia and hope in equal measure, as Dub Nation debates whether the dagger in the back will come from within or from the harsh chessboard of the front office. What if Kuminga stepping away opens the door for someone else, the sleeper that finally explodes, the trade return that the fans didn't see coming, the rookie that becomes the next Bruce Brown or Jordan Poole without the baggage? Or what if the pain of losing one key piece fractures the trust, shatters the continuity, and sets off a domino chain none of us are ready to stomach? This is not just a team in flux. It's the crucible where past glory collides with future ambiguity, where the legend's shadows compete with the young gun's frantic hunger. And I'll tell you this, as someone who's bled blue and gold through every gut-churning loss, every championship parade, every oh-so-close finals heartbreak, and every incandescent three-quarter court dagger something is shifting beneath the surface. And it's both terrifying and electric. We're staring at a moment that could either cement Curry's legacy as the unwavering godfather of a new generation or unravel everything we fought to build for almost a decade. So this is where I need you. Pour your fire into the comments. Right now, thoughts unfiltered, bets made in the heat of passion, because the pulse of Dub Nation is the only constant in this swirling chaos. Who's your pick to rise? Who's a lost cause? And what trade would blow your mind or break your heart? Let's rip this wide open together. I'll be down there with you, ready for every raw take and fever prediction, because at the end of the day, this is Warriors basketball. No matter how fierce the storm, we are unstoppable when we unite with obsession, love, and pure, undeniable faith.